It's always interesting when musicians decide to take an aggressively new approach to their art because it's risky, and risk is interesting because it can either really pay off or it can really fail. When Rihanna declared herself a good girl gone bad, the public believed her and her career skyrocketed. But when the band Perry tried to leverage their southern gothic family band country career into a darker, sexier pop band, no one wanted that. And a few years ago in the country music world, we saw two pretty big artistic transformations. On the one hand, you had Kacey Musgraves, a Texas songwriter known for her wry sense of humor and songs like Follow Your Arrow and Merry-Go-Round. Not to mention a way more traditionally country sound than almost all of her peers on Music Row. But after Kacey Musgraves got married, she found her mindset in a much happier place and made a more expansive, cosmically pop landscaped album called Golden Hour. And this led to almost universal acclaim, a whole avalanche of pop fans now in Kacey's corner, a tour with Harry Styles, and a Grammy for Album of the Year. Meanwhile, Zac Brown was going through his own artistic transformation, maybe in response to marriage as well, except he had gotten a divorce, he began playing with a totally different sonic palette that felt more in line with his Sir Roosevelt LA experience. The band released an album called The Owl that was a big departure from their standard down-home sound. It had songs like God Given that were name-dropping Gucci bags. I can't wait to get you into my car. Fans and critics didn't like the album, and upon the reception of the album, Zac doubled down and released a solo project called The Controversy with such lyrics as, I can't be your Tom Cruise, bitch, I'm Patrick Swayze. So there was a pretty opposite reaction to his evolution. And now this week, both Kacey Musgraves and the Zac Brown Band have both announced new projects dropping this fall. Kacey announced an album called Star-Crossed, along with a companion film that'll be released on September 10th. And the Zac Brown Band announced The Comeback, which is going to drop on October 15th. And I feel like both of these artists are in really interesting places in their career, so let's just talk about some of their new music and these rollouts. First up, this Kacey Musgraves album, Star-Crossed. What have we done? So on Monday, Kacey dropped a trailer on her Instagram for a film called Star-Crossed that she says is a modern tragedy told in 3 acts. And this looks to be quite a production, almost like Drag Queen Kill Bill Lemonade or something. You got her as a bride and this little chapel and all sorts of provocative imagery, and I really can't judge a trailer. But from the language of tragedy and the bridal imagery, it's pretty clear that this album is going to be reflecting on Kacey's divorce from Rustin Kelly. And so already we are in a pretty different mindset, I guess, than Golden Hour. But sonically, it definitely sounds like we're delving even further into the kind of prismatic pop landscape of that album. She's still working with Ian Fitchick and Daniel Tashin, the production team from that album, and then on this song Justified that she dropped today. If I hate you and I love you, then I'll change my mind. One of the songwriters, I think it's Ilse or Alcy, I don't know how to say her name, Ilse Juber, is a songwriter that's worked with Miley Cyrus on songs like Midnight Sky and Nothing Breaks Like a Heart, and you can totally hear that same kind of downbeat pop, kind of dystopian feel on the song Justified. Meanwhile, on the marketing side, it was announced that this album is getting a dual-pronged release, like it's kind of being co-promoted by a label in the pop world and not just her standard country label, so clearly she is more officially making that step. And as a huge fan of country Kacey that loves the simplicity and whimsy of songs like Step Off and the Trailer Song and Dime Store Cowgirl, I mean, I had Pageant Material as my #1 album of that year and it's still my favorite Kacey album, that definitely bums me out because I just feel like that's so distinctive and really to me what makes her special. But at the same time, I understand that if you were never played on country radio really, and the whole industry kind of revolves around country radio, and yet you found this big embrace in the pop world, I would probably just want to go where I was wanted to. And moreover, I think artists should always do what they want to do and pursue their own muse. Musically, these songs don't do much for me. I feel like they're kind of in this no man's land where they're either a really washed out country song or like a really boring pop song. I mean, the title track, it's kind of hard to judge. I think that's just setting a mood, setting a vibe for the album. That's what I'm guessing because it's kind of just her saying Star-Crossed a bunch of times and it feels like we are mounting, getting ready for a journey. But when it comes to Justified, I really was hoping for more from that song, more to sink my teeth into, but it's just kind of there. And I don't just mean with the sound, although I do find it kind of Billie Eilish or Olivia Rodrigo or Lorde light, like it needs like a little more edge. But lyrically is where I felt really disappointed by it because I was looking for that imagery that I know from Kacey Musgraves, something that would capture the mix of confused apathy and conviction in leaving this man that the lyrics are describing. But instead, it's very general statements of, I laugh just a little, then I cry just a little, and then I think about how you didn't treat me right, and I realize I am justified. And then I think of a song like Fine from earlier in her career, where just this image of tomatoes growing on the vine communicates this sort of languid sadness, and I'm like, oh, I want a little of that. So thus far, I'm really not into this kind of golden hour sad version that we're getting, but we've only heard 2 songs so far, and it probably is meant to be taken more as a project, more like Beyonce's Lemonade. She is definitely making a play to be in kind of that auteur level of artist, of taking herself seriously enough to make an entire film, which might come across as pretentious or it might come across as great art. Those things kind of go together. And look, people change and they want to do different things, and that's what makes artists interesting. And maybe she doesn't feel like a dime store cowgirl anymore, or maybe she's just experimenting right now and will return and make kind of a Dolly Parton-esque album in a few years, much like Sturgill went and made a rock album with Sound and Fury and then swung all the way over into bluegrass with the Cut and Grass releases. Or maybe this is the new Kacey and she just wants to be a cosmic glamazon selling LSD-scented candles. I don't know what LSD smells like, but I'm sure it smells like something. We just don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but am I thrilled about these releases so far? No. Am I intrigued? Yes. Y'all gotta let me know what you think of these songs so far. Meanwhile, the Zac Brown Band is getting ready for the release of The Comeback.
Fast, but lingers like sand on the floorboard.
They released the cover and it's got Zac Brown shirtless in the water. I feel like that guy's been waiting to pose shirtless since losing all the weight, which I get. But he's still in the woods, maybe the same woods he was in for the cover of The Owl, but he's become some sort of survivor with mud on his face. Now he's looking up from the river and getting ready to come back. It's like maybe this era of The Owl that everyone rejected didn't kill him and he's ready to come back. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but that's how I choose to read this cover. And I'm kind of intrigued. It's kind of standoffish in a way that I've come to understand is part of Zac Brown's personality.
Tell all the haters.
The music, meanwhile, is not standoffish at all. It's really friendly, and there's been 6 songs released already from this album over the past few months. I've talked about a few of them here and there, but this feels like much more of the Zac Brown Band we got to know. A lot of rich, warm harmonies. Songs like Same Boat. I mean, it's no secret that it sounds a lot like Chicken Fried, their biggest hit.
And a little bit of chicken fried. We're all in the same boat.
Meanwhile, the song Paradise Lost on Me, which has more of an island feel.
It's a frozen margarita, turning to water again.
I've got pride, I'm taking it for a ride.
Sees the return of Wyatt Durrett to the songwriting stable of the Zac Brown Band, and he wasn't at all present on The Owl, which some fans thought contributed to maybe weaker lyrics. There's also a lot of tracks co-written by Ben Simonetti, who is one of the members of Sir Roosevelt, along with Zac and Nico Moon, so really, all 3 of them are thriving career-wise right now. But there's also 2 Luke Combs co-writes in this mix as well. There's Out in the Middle, which is going to be that dark rock energy of like Beer Never Broke My Heart, and it's going to be much more of like a down-home country boy song. And then you've got Old Love Song, which is more of kind of a soulful groove. It's in the Frankenstein country video because it's name-dropping all these other country hits along the way. There's a collaboration on here that I love with Marcus King called Stubborn Pride. And then today they dropped a new song called Slow Burn, which that's hilarious that that's also in a Kacey Musgraves video. But whereas Kacey was describing a slow burn as this kind of delayed romance that is kind of unfolding slowly, in this case it's like a delayed hurt that's unfolding slowly.
Sometimes a memory like that is a slow burn.
He's remembering that summer with her and like it's hurting him as time goes on. It's burning him. It's a slow burn. And that's a very neat, very country way of twisting that concept. And I also think the song showcases a lot of harmony. Like not just, oh, we have a lead singer and a little bit of harmony in the background. You hear the harmony the way you want to on something like Sweet Annie. There's a lot of clarity in the production on these songs, and you're hearing the instruments that make the band the band. Now, if there's a criticism maybe of the songs that have come out thus far, it's that it feels a little bit like all things for all people. Sometimes it's tropical islandy, sometimes southern rock, sometimes really just in the standard country lane. And so I'm interested to see if this album has any kind of cohesive through line or if it's just sort of a reset button for them, and that's kind of what it sounds like from the press release. They say, "This music's about standing together and rediscovering our roots and what makes us human. We feel incredibly blessed to be back out on the road again, sharing these new songs with our fans. The only good thing about getting knocked down is the comeback when it comes back around." So it almost just sounds like the band did a little soul searching, figuring out what's the kind of music we want to make, who do we want to be, and can we just put that in one single package. I feel like it's very similar to what they did with Welcome Home after the Jekyll and Hyde album had similar criticism of like, what are y'all doing? Then they made Welcome Home. And so maybe this is just like the push me, pull me of art, and maybe it's also representing the push me, pull me of fandoms, because we change on a dime. One day we want an artist to do this, another day we want them to do this, and that's part of the musical journey, so I don't judge it as bad or good either way. But that's all I got for this one. Those are just some thoughts on the pre-release vibes of Star-Crossed by Kacey Musgraves, as well as the Comeback by the Zac Brown Band. I would love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think of the songs in this video and what other albums you're excited about this fall. I'll be back with Sturgill stuff next. Okay, bye.